never coming home. An English colonel made that careless call, with no regard for human life at all. Some took one step, some took two, not many walked away. The beach had flowed with blood, the highest price they paid. Raise your glass to 100 years of freedom. Raise your glass to the men who took the fall. Raise your glass. Give thanks for this country. There's a generation never coming home. 2,000 nations standing side by side. New Zealand and Australian men have died. 100 years have come and gone since we landed Sula Bay. Lest we forget the birth of Anzac Day. Raise your glass to 100 years of freedom. Raise your glass to the men who took the fall. Raise your
Okay, we're going to stop that there, seeing it was a little bit jumpy. Sorry about that, guys. So we will welcome and get going. So now that we've got a couple of you jumped on. Okay, so my name's Tia, and about 3 weeks ago, I spotted a really small post on Facebook about Anzac Day by Justin. That way. An idea, and I reached out to Justin to see if I could help make this happen. And within one day, we had 7 people working on this idea. We had an event, a group, a page, and then over the following week, we had an Instagram, Twitter, and an app in development. And we've had many, many conversations to make this happen. So the Aussies and Kiwis for Anzac group is 3 weeks old and already has 193,000 members and growing every minute. It's had over 185,000 posts, and those posts have reached 899,300 people. Justin, that is damn impressive. I've got, like I said, Justin's going to answer some questions for us. Justin, how did you come up with this idea?
Well, I think most people know that it was a bit of a fluke, a bit of an accident. It came to me over a coffee one morning 3 weeks ago yesterday, and within a few hours I created the group after making some phone calls to kind of get buy-in, I suppose, or test the waters. Created it coincidentally at 11 o'clock on Tuesday the 17th of March, and here we are 3 weeks and 1 day later with approaching 200,000 members. And that's just on the Facebook group, let alone the reach that we've had in all those other platforms as well.
Well, like I said, when I looked at the stats, I saw a figure that said the post reach was like 900,000 people. That's massive for something that started as an idea in an obscure little group that I spotted the post because, I was in ISO, I was stuck at home. What is the plan? What are we going to do on Anzac Day?
Well, quite simple, really. The call will go out at this stage about 5 minutes to 6, and I'm going to clarify some timings with everybody very soon. But we'll just say 5 minutes to 6 for now. There will be the call to go outside. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't go out earlier. The actual dawn service from Canberra will commence at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And 5:30 a.m. everybody's local time, but it will be live on the East Coast, and then a delayed broadcast for the rest of the country. At around 5 minutes to 6, we'll go outside, and you can either use a candle, the torch on your mobile, or ideally the mobile application that we're testing at the moment, which will stream the ABC's radio broadcast. Which includes the last post, the ode, reveille, the minute silence, and so forth. At the conclusion of that service, when they actually say this concludes the service of Anzac Day 2020, we are asking that everybody gives a round of applause. Now, that round of applause is for yourselves, it's for each other, it's for getting behind the movement. It's also for our veterans, and it's for the people that are fighting on the front line at the moment for COVID-13, our health workers, retail workers, and so forth. They're probably the people that are most at risk of contagion at the moment, and they're working tirelessly to support us. So I think they deserve a round of applause, and every military person I've spoken to does agree. So we don't feel that that's disrespectful to the day at all.
Excellent. And so that's all going to be on an app. So will the app guide us insofar as sort of remind us to sort of go out the front, remind us to light our candle, and will it play the music like the ode and things like if we were actually at a service?
It will. So effectively, if you're in Australia, and we're hoping to expand this to overseas as well, we're just working on some connections with broadcasters. But at the moment, if you're in Australia, you will receive from 5:30 in the morning the ability to listen to that entire service. And a part of that service in the format that it's given includes the ode, the last post, the minute of silence, and reveille. And that is generally then followed with the closure, the Australian National Anthem, and the closure of the actual service. So that does come at the end. And that's part of the reason why we put the call out for that 5 minutes to 6. So at the moment, it's scheduled for approximately 6 o'clock that the last post and so forth will sound. As I said, people are welcome to go outside earlier, but you don't have to. The app will actually give you a push notification to say, "Go on, out you get."
I remember when I was a kid, we'd be up at at 4 o'clock to go to our local service. And one of the very first questions we got on the group was, what time will I have to go? And it's kind of like, well, it's a dawn service. And somebody sort of said, but I normally leave at 4:30. My comment back to them was, well, it really depends how long your driveway is, because you literally need to walk out to your
That's
driveway.
a great response.
So, well, it sort of made sense to me when I read that one, was that how the time you need to be ready is time to walk out. And I guess being respectful and whatever, we don't really want everyone to walk out in their PJs, like we want everyone to walk out the front like they're going to a formal service like they normally do every other year.
That's exactly right. I mean, if the kids are wearing their moccasins and their dressing gowns, I suppose, we're not prescribing, we're not telling everybody what to do, but when you do attend a dawn service at a memorial, you tend to dress appropriately, and we'd love to see our veterans in a suit, wearing their medals as they would any other year that they march. We think that would make for a respectful observation and commemoration of what would normally happen, just in a different environment.
Yeah, 100%. And all the school kids normally go in their school uniform, so that would be really cool as well. If if the kids did put their school uniforms on and took a photograph of their family commemorating, which would be great. Now,
Absolutely.
I've got one more question I've got another question for you, because I know that the Aussies and Kiwis for ANZACs has just recently, well, the whole thing's recent, but really recently started an alliance with Music for Mateship and Pipe Bands Australia. Can you just sort of fill us in on what that's about, please?
Yeah, sure. So Music for Mateship was started by a gentleman named Alistair Tompkins up in Brisbane. He's a music teacher in a school setting, and he put the call out for brass players around Australia to play the last post and either reveille or the ruse. Reveille can be a little bit tough. It's not an easy piece of music to play, so he's given the option for the ruse or rouse, depending on which side of the river you're from. Initially, that call was for 6 a.m, so we reached out to Alistair and sort of asked whether or not that could be pushed until the conclusion of the formal service, simply because the formal service has 105 years of tradition. It's going to be a synchronized event because everyone's going to get their broadcast at the same time. And we didn't want to hear stories or reports back of random trumpet players out of sync, perhaps playing at different times around the neighbourhood over the top of the formal service where the last post and so forth is played by a serving member of the ADF. So yeah, that's basically going to follow that round of applause is where all the school kids and adults all around the nation who do play a brass instrument or play an instrument at all, really, it doesn't have to be brass. That's where they can play the last post again and really connect with their community members in the street.
So when in the group, I've seen a lot of...
Sorry, Tia, go ahead.
I was going to say, in the group, I've seen a lot of kids, practicing their violin. I've seen people practicing on their bugles and on their trumpets, and we've sort of seen a lot of that happening. So that's happening already, and all that information is in the group. So the links for the group are in the post on top of this live video, so you'll be able to sort of go along and follow those later on. You've also got another really good alliance happening, and that's with Soldier On.
That's right. I might just touch on the pipers very quickly before I talk about Soldier On. The Pipe Bands Australia, Chris Earle is the president there. He's put the call out for the pipers, bagpipe players all around Australia to play Amazing Grace in their driveways at 11 a.m. Further to that, with both of the groups, after discussing it with them, we think it's a great idea that both the brass players, musicians of all sort, and the pipers reach out to local aged care facilities, retirement villages, hospitals, places where there's going to be people who can't observe the dawn in the driveway. And if they were able to arrange a time to play either their trumpet, their trombone, their saxophone, guitar, violin, or bagpipes for those people, those residents and patients in those environments, we feel it's going to create a really good connection for those people. Many of them are veterans, many of them have served and may not have been able to attend a dawn service for a number of years because of various ailments. So we think that's a really nice tribute to them. So we would encourage, as do Aussies and Kiwis would encourage, but Music for Mateship and Pipe Bands Australia also encourage that to happen. When it comes to Soldier On, this is actually a really exciting alliance. Now, for those who don't know who Soldier On are, they are a mental health support charity, specifically for veterans and their families, and they specialise in PTSD. They work on a four-prong approach. They use the acronym HELP. So H is for health and well-being. It's about good nutrition, exercise, those sorts of things, something I could obviously do more of. E is for employment, so working with employment agencies and their veterans to get them suitable employment in a supportive and nurturing environment. L's for learning, so that continuous learning, challenging one's position to acquire new skills. And P, of course, is for participation, so getting out there, joining a club, volunteering, seeing friends, that social participation and engagement outside of the more required aspects of life, such as employment. They're an outstanding organisation. In my normal life, when I'm not accidentally creating Facebook groups, I actually work in suicide prevention and mental health, or in a voluntary capacity, but with 4 different organisations, including the Black Dog Institute. So I'm right behind this movement. Soldier On came on with us last week, and we haven't announced it yet because we've just been working out exactly how that relationship's going to look. But effectively, we are offering some fundraising on their behalf, and you would have noticed just in the last 24 hours or so, the flagworld went up. We've got a few others that are coming through. You'll be able to get some candles with a donation, and really nice candles too. Candles that have Lest We Forget and other beautiful imagery on them. Some money from that will go to Soldier On. We have a lady called Dented Diva, or that's not her name, that's her organizer, her page name. It will be offering a range of different Anzac related goods as well, and she'll be donating 15% to the cause, to Soldier On. There's a lot of other news that we've got in that space, but I don't really want to say too much in case we can't make it happen. But on Anzac Day, we are planning a pretty big event that, if we can make everything work over the coming days, you're not allowed to leave the house. You're not going to want to leave the house, because this is going to be something to remember. That will be in the afternoon, and we'll tell you as soon as we know more.
Excellent. Now, back to the selling and all of that, that leads us to our first question. So how the questions will work, the questions are ones that we've picked up off the page and the group over the last couple of weeks. And so they're the ones that we're getting asked repeatedly. So I'm going to pop the questions on the screen for you and let you talk about them. And I will come back just before the end. Okay, here's your first question.
Excellent. So why no advertising, selling or promotions on the group? It's a great question. All of the admin get asked this question a lot. We have seen a few people get a bit upset at the fact that they can't do it. And I need to stress that it's not because we don't want you to, it's because we have not been allowed to let you do so. There's a lot of legalities around use of the word Anzac. You actually require a permit to use the word Anzac in any capacity. Anzac Day is a little bit different, but the word Anzac in a semi-commercial or a social movement type of capacity, as this is, does require a permit. There's a $10,000 fine for using it, or 3 months jail. And we've been fortunate enough to work with the Department of Veteran Affairs to obtain that permit. Now, we're not out to make money. We are nothing more than passionate Australians who have a military history or connection to military history. In the case of Ash Louise, you would have seen her post. She's actually a family member of the first tri-military family in the ADF. So all 3 factions of the military are in her family, as well as generations before. My father, as a lot of you would know, served in Vietnam, and everybody else on the team is really passionate about our military history and came on board. I didn't solicit anyone. Every single one of the admins called and contacted me to say, can we please help? Because we believe in what you're doing and we believe it's a really good cause. So effectively, the reason there's been no advertising, selling and promotion is because we are not a business. We are just individuals. We didn't have that permit, but now that we have an arrangement in place with Soldier On, we are able to offer our members who have a relevant commercial product to sell, to get in touch with us to negotiate and to work out exactly how it is we can support that, as we are with Flagworld, the candles and the other items I mentioned. You may have seen on the news there's a wreath kit that's being done by some florists. They're going to be coming on in the next 24 hours, hopefully, just as we work out the details of the artwork for them. And they'll be offering 20% over to Soldier On as well. So I have had a lot of conversations with individuals there. Get back in touch and we can work something out to help you, but there must be a donation and there must be transparency around that. So there will be a fundraising agreement that we'll have to enter into. It's not complicated, but we need that transparency to keep everyone protected. Which leads to the next question. What do we gain out of this? Honestly, Nothing. we gain, well, nothing financial. We do gain a lot. All right, we're already gained a lot just in the last 3 weeks by watching these beautiful stories and these beautiful interactions come out. We don't feel like we're running a business. We don't feel like we're running a charity. We feel like we're the curators of some absolutely amazing first and second hand histories that are being shared, and the outpouring of love from individuals all over the page. Some of them, I think the biggest one I saw was 39,000 likes and love hearts on one post. I mean, that's phenomenal. That's the gentleman who was looking for 150,000. Sorry, he was looking for 100,000 for his 100th birthday. He got 150,000. He was on the news, and you guys gave 39,000 of those just on this one page. I mean, that's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So I guess largely what we gain is just the sense of having done it, the feel goods. We get bombarded with beautiful. Bombarded is the wrong choice because we welcome it. We get a lot of really positive feedback from the members. A lot of love comes our way, and that's kind of payment enough, really. Where can I buy flags from? Well, honestly, you can buy them from anywhere. We had a heck of a lot of flag posts coming through. We did have to limit and decline quite a number of them because there was some argy-bargy going on over protocols and suitability of changing the flag and things like that. The reason we've gone with Flagworld is because they are manufactured right here in Victoria, about 2 hours from my home in Mulgrave, 100% Australian-owned company, 23 employees, and there's been over 600 flags purchased as a result of our site before we even talk to them. So you guys are keeping that business in business. You're keeping those 23 staff members in a job. And like I said, they're 100% made in Australia. And they're a licensed flag manufacturer. So they're not cheap, nasty things. They're approved designs. They have a much broader range than the 4 that we've put on the coupon there, which they've offered, the red ensign, the Australian flag, and the 2 lest we forgets. They have a massive, massive range. Question of, can I visit a memorial on Anzac Day? Again, we're not here to tell you what to do. Highly discourage doing it. You might think you're the only one there, but there's 193,000 of you, 197,000 of you. You won't be the only one there, and there's a risk. There's also the social isolation rules in some parts of the country where I live, stage 3 restrictions, no more than 2 people travelling together. There was a learner driver, of all things, that received a fine because it was considered non-essential. Now, I, as much as anybody else, would argue that commemorating Anzac Day is essential. That's why this movement exists. But the reason we're doing it the way that we are in our driveways is because it does respect the traditions. It also builds a sense of community and solidarity in this really weird sort of time that we're in. And it keeps everybody safe because we're maintaining those social distances. Our diggers, especially our older generation of World War I and World War II vets, Korean vets, and even the Vietnam vets. My dad is in his 70s. High risk. Stay away from the memorials, please. How many admins are there and how do we get in touch? Well, as Tia said, there's a team of 8 of us all together, so seven people whose faces you don't see, and my own. You can get in touch by sending a message through the page that this is being hosted from. So when you're on the main group page, if you look over into the top right-hand corner, you'll see the icon that's the logo, similar, it's exactly the same as the one that's on the screen with the question next to it now. Clicking on that will take you through to the admin area, and you're able to send a message through there. So again, to those people who want to fundraise, anyone who wants to ask a question of admin, that is the best place to do it because there's 8 people monitoring that inbox, not just the one. So if you're messaging Ash or you're messaging me, you're not going to get a response nearly as quickly. Will this be something that happens every year from now on? Well, again, we've got 105 years worth of tradition of formal dawn services at memorials and shrines of remembrance and so forth around the country. So we don't want to replace dawn services. We don't want to replace the tradition of showing that respect in a public place. That said, there's a variety of reasons that people can't attend dawn services, regardless, in times where we don't have COVID-19. That can be from PTSD or other emotional blockers. It can be from physical disablement. Young kids. Ash has got a baby that's 10 weeks old. A little bit more challenging at 4 o'clock in the morning to get down to a shrine. So we believe that this will live on beyond this year, but it will give some people an opportunity to feel a connection to Anzac Day and feel a connection to the dawn service, knowing that they're not the only one doing it and that they are doing it at the same time as anyone who's at a memorial would be. How can I donate money to legacy or veterans? Well, that's a really easy one to answer. If you want to donate money to veterans, go to Soldier On. The suicide rate, and I don't mean to get morbid, but the suicide rate amongst veterans is higher than the number of people who die in wars, especially contemporary younger veterans from some of the more recent wars. That suicide rate is just unbelievably high. The overall suicide rate in Australia is 2.5 times the road toll. And we've got some very big organisations that have been around for a very long time, and they're pretty well funded. So we would like to see some of these smaller organisations, such as Soldier On, be better equipped to be able to help more people and their families. So please give to Soldier On. It's your choice, but Soldier On is a great one. Why can't we have this later than 6 a.m? Well, how do I say this without coming off as being rude? Dawn is dawn. It's called a dawn service for a reason. Typically, your more traditional, full-blown, long public events start even earlier than 5:30, and they conclude at dawn. So dawn is not sunrise. It's when you can just start to see the light breaking over the horizon. It's not when you can see the sun. As it is, 6 o'clock is late for a dawn service. That you are more than welcome to commemorate in any way you like. If you want to do it in your neighbourhood at 10 a.m, that's okay, but you won't have the ability to listen to a live stream on the ABC radio. Why are there conflicting times? There's a couple of reasons for this. One is there's about 150 spin-off groups that have come from this. So as things change and as the timings change, we get notified very quickly because we're working with the ABC and the Australian War Memorial. So if they change that 6 o'clock time frame to 6:05 or 6:05, we get that information very, very quickly. The other 149 groups aren't necessarily privy to that information unless they're looking at our page. I can tell you right now, as I said earlier, at this point in time, 5:30 is the commencement for the Canberra War Memorial Service, with a step outside if you're not there already at 5 minutes to 6, ready to observe the minute of silence and listen to the ode and those 2 pieces of music at 6 o'clock. If ScoMo talks for an extra 5 minutes, it's going to be 6:05. The best thing you could do is get out there even earlier than 5:02. Get out there at 5:30. It's going to be a little bit cool, but it's not going to kill you. Should the government find a way to pay the admins for all their hours? Yes. Simple as a yes. The team is working around the clock. They are working so hard. I don't think anybody regrets putting their hand up. But if they knew now what they didn't know then, they may have wrapped some rules around their availability, because it is a big job. It's a very rewarding job, very spiritually rewarding job. If the government wants to throw some money at the admin so they can take their kids to Disneyland or something when all this is over, we would really welcome it. But that's not what we're in it for. It'd be a nice to have, but that's not why we're doing it. As I said before, the flagworld flags are made in Australia. It's an Australian-owned company in Australia, Mulgrave, Victoria. Some of their materials would have been imported. I'm guessing. I haven't actually asked that question, but some things you just can't get in Australia. But they are 100% Australian-made, 100% by an Australian company. It's just a husband and wife type of team. They're 23 employees, including the owners. They're not massive. They're not offshore. They're not owned offshore. They were 100% Australian. And we chose that because of the comments that we were deleting about imports. What have we got next there, Tia?
Okay, we do actually have one more question. So Sarah has asked, what's the difference between the page and your group? So if you like, I can actually answer this one, and it's
Please
all
do.
to do with that whole Facebook algorithm. If we post something on our page, a really small percentage will see that post. If we post something on our group, hundreds of people will see that. So having a page and a group and an event just helps with the algorithm and helps everything be seen so that everybody's up to date. With the group, there are thousands and thousands of posts on there, so you may not see one of our announcements, where on the group, on the page, you'll see the announcements, so they will be there. And I've got to apologise, my dog's going Burko. Sorry. But, so we are real, we are people, we are families, we've got homes, and yeah. Anyway, so Jay, I've got one more thing that I want to ask you. I have been watching and I haven't seen any other questions come up, but we will go back through the feed because there's been hundreds of comments as we go. So people from all over the place. Although Sarah wants to know why you're called Jay as well as Justin. So I can answer that one.
Easy one to answer. My full name is Justin Scott Wilder. And because of the work I do outside of this, I maintain some, until recently, I maintained some anonymity on social media, just so that the people that I work with, who are often in crisis, I keep that separation, because at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm not the best person for them to reach out to.
Excellent.
Nefarious kind of guy. It's just, it was
you're not secret anymore at all. Looking through, I can't see any more questions. Okay, yeah, Trevor's asked how do we get in touch, but we've already answered that one. So Trev, go to the page and message admin and we'll get back in touch with you regarding your one. Click the heart. Yep. Everything else is just comments, and thank you very much everyone for tuning in. But before we go, I do have one more question for Jay. So you've got a challenge for all our members. How does that work?
It's not a difficult challenge. There's been some, like I said, amazing stories, thousands of amazing stories of first-hand and second-hand. You know, this is my granddad, this is my great-granddad. These are the medals of my father and things like that, and they're phenomenal. And stories of, you know, kids playing the trumpet, playing the violin. I love it. The challenge is quite simply to take a short video like you would on Snapchat, or any other platform. Take a short video of what you're doing for Anzac Day, or the kids doing the craft, interviewing that veteran in the family, because, you know, we can't come and do it, social distancing, and pop it through to the page. It can be anything. Keep it respectful. Remember, there are kids watching things. We will be vetting them. Make them 30 seconds, make them a minute. Don't make them documentaries. But we'd love to see what you're planning for Anzac Day, what Anzac Day means to you, and really get that connection with who you are, not just what your name is. So the challenge is to post some videos to us, pop them up on the wall, and share who you are and what it all means to you. Before we do go, though, I just want to put a shout out to a member called Rach. I'm only going to identify her as Rach. If I can get my framing right. They sent me this in the mail today, and it's absolutely beautiful. Much prettier than the face that's shining through the hole. This is a handmade wall hanging that I will be putting up in a pride of place. Thank you very much, Rach. Really love it. Absolutely love it.
Okay, there is one more comment that I'll address, and that says about joining the new event on the page. So when Jay and I first set the event up, we actually didn't have a page or a group. We had an idea. And so the event came up through a community group that I'm involved with. And so what we're doing today is moving that and putting an event on our page. So there will be an event specific. Well, the other one was as well, but so there'll be an event from the Aussie and Kiwi page. Okay. Anything else that you want to say, Jay?
I was going to say, just because you don't say you're going on the event doesn't mean you can't be involved, but it would help us to know just how many of you are planning on stepping outside along with us, and it'll give us a bit of a feel for how many downloads of the app we can expect as well. We want to make sure that everybody can get it. We want to make sure that it's accessible and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, if you can, please hit going on the app, on the event, and that will sort of help guide the next 2 weeks as we come closer to the day.
And continue to like and share the page, on your networks, your community groups. And this is Australia and New Zealand wide. So anywhere you can, please share the group, share the event. And I suppose most of all, the biggest message we have for you is to stay safe and to stay proud and to remember, lest we forget. Excellent. Thank you very much, Jay, for coming on and playing with this platform with us today. And
the first ever live stream. I've never done a live stream before. Thank you, Tia, for coordinating it and managing it and making it what it is.
We'll do another update maybe before Anzac Day.
Absolutely. We'll do more of these live streams as we get closer and we have more to share. And just a little bit of a tag onto what Tia said before when she said this is Australia and New Zealand. It's actually much bigger than that. We have more than 100 countries following this movement. I've been getting emails from the UK, from America, asking how they can be involved. I'm really excited to acknowledge Dana, who's working in the background with French consulates and French ambassadors, because there's a number of different areas in France where they were the battlefields of World War I who want to observe our dawn service with us. So I think that this is it's an amazing testament to that history. Many of the people who fought in that war are no longer with us, yet the descendants and the youth of today still honour them globally. And I just think that's a beautiful thing. And you should all be proud of yourself because you've made it what it is. We've just sat back and watched what you're doing and jumped on. Everyone wants flags. Let's find someone who can supply flags. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep reaching out. Keep showing each other love and respect. And we will see you again very, very soon. Thanks, guys.
Pin yourself on the Google map. Pin yourselves on that map because we want to see the map black. So you follow the link. We'll put it, it's on the page and we will pop it back on there again. Okay.
There's about 1,000 pins in there at the moment. There's another 190-something thousand pins to go in. You can imagine that'll be a sea of black.
Excellent. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, Tia. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, team. You're amazing. See you next time.